Right, sorry about this kind of like blurry look. I'm just about on the way out to go do some weight training. You want to know what parallax was? Right, basically what you have is, if you can imagine layers of screens. So, if you imagine that's the screen of your tablet in case, okay, so you're using a tablet. So that's the screen that you're actually going to write on. So your pen goes on there. The actual, sorry, it's just blowing out, isn't it? How do you fix this thing? Just on my iPhone. And the actual screen, so the digital bit that does all the screen kind of stuff there, is underneath there. Okay, so there's a distance between the electronics that is showing the light, that's actually showing the you're actually drawing on, but then there's a layer of glass over the top, and so there's a distance between the two. Right, moving over. So here's my fingers, all right? So if you imagine there's a distance, I'll use my fingers over the front of the black screen. So if you imagine there's a distance between the two, so there's your glass, and there's the actual display itself underneath, all right? So when you're looking at it, if you're right over the top, your pen, I'm trying to do this with sort of like many things. So your pen goes on there, all right? So your pen goes on that bit there, and then there is this distance, okay? So display, glass, your pen goes on the glass, and your display is there, okay? When you look at it like that, and you're looking directly over the top, so I'll be looking down like that, right? When it's over the top, it's absolutely brilliant. But when it goes off to one side, can you see that there's now a gap between, you can perceive the gap between my finger and the pen, and that's because you're looking sideways at it. And what the calibration software does on your Huey on screen, or whichever, or X Pen Pro, is it works out so that when you're looking at it, if you don't move your head and keep your head still, that if you touch over there, so you keep your head still and you sort of like touch like that, and you have to mark in little crosshairs, and it tells the pen where the where you're thinking you're pressing, even if you're not. If you put your head directly over it, you're slightly off from the actual point where you're pressing and where you think you're pressing, and it's all calibration. The problem with the cheaper models is that gets in the way. I'll explain parallax again in a moment in a slightly different way so you can get the real world feel of it. So the result is that you run into problems because if you move your head, and the calibration software is not perfect, so it means that as you look at it, you kind of end up with these gaps and things, and so you end up, instead of it actually being the very tip that you're drawing with, the sensor is built here, and the calibration does so just there. Hang on. So this bit hasn't got any sense in it. So when you're using an iPad or something like that, then it's all the technology's in here to say where you're pressing and how hard you're pressing. But when you're looking at, actually no, it's not an iPad. iPads got it all built into the pencil. Anyway, whatever. The pencil works, it's such a thin layer of glass, it's sapphire glass, so it works a bit differently. But when you're using these ones, you've got this layer of glass, and the technology is in here. With the Cintiq, it's brilliantly calibrated, it's all done for you, you hardly need to do anything to change it, so no matter where you are on the screen, it works. On the Huey on that I have, the technology is there, so you can always feel that actually you're drawing with this bit of the pen. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Draw with this bit of the pen here, not with this bit. So you're drawing with this bit, not this bit. And that kind of like makes it feel a bit weird. You get used to it, but you only actually really have a workable space. So you've got the big screen, you only have a workable space in the middle. So you can go and select your tablets and select these sort of like brushes and all that kind of thing, all right. And when you're working with the big pieces, so I always work big to small, and it's really easy to get the sort of like the big designs in. But when you go down to detail level, it's really hard, and you have to always zoom in, which for those of us who are used to working in traditional media, and it's actually easier for us to work in traditional media, and you want to work on a whole screen so you can get the idea of where everything is and your depths and your contrast and everything else, it becomes very, very hard because you have to work on this very small space and then keep zooming in and out, and it means you lose the flow and all sorts of things. Right. So parallax is actually a big issue, and you think, oh, it's not going to be all right, too bad, and it cost me £700, I think it was, to buy the Huey on, and I had to wait another 8 months to be able to buy the Cintiq, and I wish I'd actually waited for just 3 or 4 months, and I'd have had enough money to have bought the Cintiq in the first place. So that's the first thing. You get the real world experience. The way it was explained to me in my physics class when I was doing O levels, which is a long time ago, is imagine you're in a train. I haven't got a train. I haven't got a toy. Hang on. I'll use a cotton glove box, okay? Oh, you're going to need one of these, by the way. Boots. Don't buy the Lycra gloves. Just go to Boots, all right? I know you're UK. Go to Boots. Buy one of these, all right? Buy a white glove, and you cut the thumb and the first 3 fingers out, and you end up with something like that, and you can wear that, and they last a lot longer than buying Lycra. Anyway, that's beside the point. I'll put a video up one day and show how you cut one of those. Because you don't need to fork out a fortune. I've got loads all over the place. And they last forever. Much better than Lycra. And cheaper. Anyway, imagine a train. Here we are. So you've got a train going down the train track. And you're looking at fields. And you've got a telegraph pole here. And you've got here you've got some trees. Okay? And as you go past, let's imagine I've got 2 trees like that, and the train's going past, and so I'm going to leave this absolutely square to the camera, and if you watch as I go past, can you see how that, although my fingers are square, you can actually see how one moves in comparison to the other one, all right? So if I'm in a train and I'm moving across, then I'm actually going to see this twist, and that's parallax. So parallax is the distance, perceived distance and change in angles and everything else between one point in front and one point behind. And when you're working on glass down like that, the ideal is paper thin glass like you got on your iPad. It doesn't exist in the real world. Cintiq still has a gap, but the calibration software kicks in and means that actually when you're pressing over here, it's still directly under the pen tip, which means that you can be drawing with the pen and it doesn't get in the way. Using cheaper models, it gets in the way and it really does make you feel like you're falling over. I spoke to a couple of other artists about it, and they were looking at the Huion as well, and we also, well, parallax might be an issue. It is better, to be honest, using a bigger screen size is better than working on a small screen size, so that's the first thing I would say. So don't worry that, so it is a better thing, and if actually you're not working digitally a while and you're just colouring, then it might be all right for you. But if you want to move over digitally properly, which if you're a full-time illustrator, to be perfectly honest, well, why wouldn't you now? It's quicker when you're working with self-publishing world, or the publishing world anyway. Everybody wants digital files, so you're saving yourself the scanning, you're saving yourself processes, and actually you're saving yourself masses of money on the papers and everything. Rebel 3 is the best software. I use a combination of Rebel 3, ArtRage, and Photoshop. I hardly ever touch Corel Paint these days. Photoshop, in fact, actually I'm going to move over to Affinity Photo as well. I think that's about everything I can tell you. If you've got any questions, just please ask and I'll try and make another video, because it's easier this way than typing, and now I'm going to go and do some weight training. Okay, hope that helps. Ta-ta.